Well, guys, we are finally here. Smallville Season 10. Man, it is a whole lot of fun to watch this show, and I had a whole lot of fun doing these reviews for you guys on YouTube, and I don't know, I just like talking about Smallville. Ever since I saw that it was on Hulu, I just had to watch it again, and I decided to make a little series about it on YouTube. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and please leave a like, subscribe, share my videos so that my channel can get out there so that other people can enjoy this series as well. Anyway, Smallville Season 10 is the wrap-up season of Smallville, of course. And in this one, it really does kind of feel like a wrap-up. Like for example, Lois Lane now knows that Clark Kent has superpowers, that he actually is the... Oh, I really hate that name. The Blur. She knows that he is the Blur, that he has been the superhero that has been saving Metropolis. So there's that. But but there also is one more villain in town that starts to show up, and I thought to myself, okay, we already had Lex Luthor, we had Brainiac, we had Bizarro, we had Zod, we had several other villains. What other villains do we have left now? And I completely forgot about Darkseid. Darkseid is basically the Darth Vader of comic books, so you know this dude is basically bad business. And I kind of wish that this season really focused a little bit more on the lore of Darkseid, because if you're just going to introduce Darkseid and not knowing exactly who he is, dude, this guy should be as big as Lex Luthor and the Joker from other comic books. He is really bad news. But instead, he just shows up a couple of times, and I'm thinking, okay, that's Darkseid, and he has his little minions to bring the planet Apocalypse to Earth, so there's that going on. But what else does this season really have going for it? Well, in one episode that I thought was absolutely very interesting is that Clark and Lois go back to Smallville High for our 5-year anniversary, and that's where they bring back Brainiac. And I'm thinking, oh man, don't do this. Do not bring in all the villains from previous seasons, otherwise it's just gonna get too crowded. We had this problem in season 7, but as it turns out, he just takes Clark along on this, you know, Scrooge and the Three Ghosts type of scenario, and he gets to see exactly what his life is going to become, and he decides to, you know, to go for it. And to their credit, and it's just as enjoyable. It's just as enjoyable as any other previous episode. And I really like Brainiac as a good guy instead of a villain. He plays a villain so well, as a villain that I am rooting for our good guys to finally defeat. But now seeing him as a good guy, I can kind of see exactly what Jor-El really wanted to do with Brainiac. In just one episode, I'd say that is a clear shot. But no, there is a lot of moments in this season where you could definitely feel like it is a complete wrap up. I mean, Chloe Sutherland is gone, and also the Talon has the coffee shop that Lana Lang built in season 1 has burnt down. So has the Luthor mansion, and Clark gets the deed from his mother to the Kent farm, and now he finally sells that, and they move to, so he and Lois can move to Metropolis. And it's really sad to really see all these things go. So you can definitely tell that the showrunners are telling everybody, yeah, this is the final season. There's not going to be any more seasons after this one. And to the credit, you can tell it is wrapping up, but it's not exactly wrapping up everything that we really wanted to see. Like, for example, the show promised us that Lex Luthor would one day become president of the United States. And what is Superman going to deal with all that? Also, I always wanted to see Tom Welling in the actual suit. The Superman suit, you know, the S symbol, blue suit, red cape, flying through outer space and everything. I kind of wanted to see that a whole lot more in this season. And the suit does show up in the very beginning of this season, but it's covered in ice because Clark now has to deal with Darkseid, to deal with his final challenge to finally become Superman himself. So yeah, that is a whole lot of fun. Also, I really like the fact that they finally made some closure on the Lois and Clark relationship. It's just been a very fast, but yet very paced out relationship that is built out of all of this time. And now we finally, and now that Lois knows exactly who Clark is, she is on the decisive whether she should stay with him because she loves him, or she has to leave him because he's going to be Superman. He's going to be something important to the world. Like every other girl that Clark Kent has ever ran into in the show says the exact same line, saying we can't be together because you are more important to the world than you are to them. And Clark decides to put his foot down, that instead of letting everybody tell him what to do, instead of his feelings really getting in the way with everything, he decides to just go for it. And immediately I'm thinking, finally, after all this time, you're finally just going for it. And he decides to stay with Lois Lane. And granted, Lois and Clark's relationship in the entire show is by far one of my favorite relationships out of them all. You guys probably know about now that the relationships in the show is not really my favorite element in the show, but hey, Lois and Clark always works, and I enjoyed their time on screen. And another character that definitely gets a lot of screen time, and that is Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen is still dealing with a lot of trauma, especially after Chloe Sutherland left, and his deal of being captured and everything. Suddenly you see the mark of Darkseid on his forehead, and you find out that he is one of his minions, because the Darkseid is taking over. His darkness, the darkness that all superheroes have, is now taking him over. But Clark basically finds a way to talk it out of him and say, yeah, we all have darkness inside of us, but it's just a matter on how you use it. You can't let it control you. So immediately you notice that Superman is finally here. He's not exactly called Superman yet, but he is getting here. We are sprinting to the finish line at this point. And it's really sad to see a lot of locations in this show disappear, such as the Talon. The Talon has always been the coffee shop that everybody hangs out at. You know, like the Friends gang hung out at Central Perk. Just imagine it burning down in the 10th season. Yeah, it's pretty sad. Not exactly as sad as Central Perk ever burning down, even though it never did, but still, you get what I mean. But the Luthor mansion is gone, and Clark finally sold the farm. It just feels like something major is just being taken away, and if they would have continued the show after this, it would not feel like Smallville anymore. Why? Because it would not take place in the town of Smallville. Every single location that we know from Smallville is now gone. It's sad to see it go. I haven't really felt that type of pain since Michael Rosenbaum and Kristen Crook finally left the show, because it definitely did feel like a very different show when they moved over to Metropolis more often than they spent time in Smallville. Yeah. I kind of want to talk about Darkseid a whole lot more, but the problem is there's just so many moments in the show that kind of deal with the fact that it's kind of closure, that they never really spent a lot of time on who Darkseid is. He just kind of shows up a couple times as a pile of mist and everything, and he has his 3 minions and everything, and I guess that's all you need to know about Darkseid. It's Darkseid, for crying out loud. He's one of the biggest DC villains out there, and the Justice League had to deal with him time and time and time again. It's absolutely crazy, but he has more to his backstory than just being the darkness of everything. I didn't get the idea on why he wants to take over the entire universe. I didn't get the idea on why he is choosing Earth out of all of that. There is a lot of explanations about Darkseid in the comic books that I never really get to see on the big screen. And also, they could actually explain the fact that in the very end, even if you would defeat the so-called body of Darkseid, you still technically have not defeated Darkseid. Let that sink in for you. There's a whole lot more to Darkseid than what the show really gave us. I just kind of wish they did explain it a little bit more. But anyway, I did like the way the show did wrap up, and there are some moments at the very end where you see Tom Welling in the Superman outfit in space, but I kind of wanted to see him, do a little bit more in the super suit. Fly around, saving people, just in the final episode to tell us that he's no longer called the Blur, because that name had to go. He is now Superman. Then we deal with Apocalypse and Darkseid and all that type of stuff, and we get to deal with that. Except the problem is they kind of wrapped that up the same way they kind of wrapped up the Doomsday plotline from season 8. So I gotta say, Season 10 does have a couple of flaws in it, but I did feel satisfied that this is the ending to the show. It's not one of the worst seasons, and I did actually feel really excited at the very end of the show when when he gets on that roof and he takes off the glasses, takes the shirt off. There's the Superman symbol with the Superman march playing in the background. I just knew right there and then that this is the way that the show had to end. Although I kind of wanted to see him in the full bodysuit and then fly off to save the day. In in the very end of usual Superman movies, he's flying into space during the sunrise and he just smiles and winks at the camera and flies away. That would be the ending. I kind of wanted to see that in Smallville, but hey, I can take what I can get. So anyway, Smallville, I gotta say, Tom Welling is fantastic as Clark Kent. I absolutely enjoyed watching Tom Welling as Superman, and seeing the torch pass from Christopher Reeve to Tom Welling, I felt like it was very satisfying and very well deserved. And judging by everything that he had to go through, I mean, he's in every single episode of this show. I can only imagine of how exhausted that he must have been by the end of the show. Also, Erica Durance, that plays Lois Lane, is by far one of my favorite performances as Lois Lane. And Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor. I really miss seeing Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor. With a couple of seasons where he was gone, I just felt like there was just a piece ripped from me. It just didn't really feel like the same without Michael Rosenbaum. However, if you want to ever see what Michael Rosenbaum is doing right now, he has a podcast on YouTube. I really recommend that you check it out. It is a whole lot of fun. And also, I found out that he and Tom Welling might be next door neighbors, and I thought to myself, Superman and Lex Luthor are next door neighbors. There is some good in this world. So anyway, I was really satisfied with the ending of Smallville. Season 10 is still a really great season. So I gotta say, it is worth watching, and it is definitely classic. So guys, the season finale of Smallville, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Whatever you thought, comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.